Good, great greetings to you, my people. It's your girl, Key. How is life treating you? I hope it is treating you well. How are you coping? How are you adapting to this new normal that we are adjusting to, this drastic halt? You know, like when the brakes are slammed on a car and we're just having to, we've life is flipped 180 and we're having to adapt to this new situation we are all finding ourselves in. How is it treating you? How are you coping? How are you looking after your mental health? Because I think, I think that is going to be the biggest challenge for our time, and the biggest stress, one of the biggest stresses actually, because there's going to be a multitude of stresses that we have to contend with. But sustaining our mental health is going to be of particular importance. And we're all going through it. We are all going through it. I particularly have taken action in terms of contacting my, not burying my head about the challenges that I foresee will be happening for me in my business. So I've taken a kind of like a very proactive stance about that. So what about you out there? If you've got any questions or need any tips, feel free to inbox your girl Key. I've got the laptop open here because I know that, there is stigma about talking to people like me for some reason. But actually, I'm here to help. If I can't help, I'll know somebody else that does, because at Key for Change, we have lots of practitioners who are on the front line, making a difference, making changes, who are qualified, experienced professionals. No flim flam, no did a little 2-bit course in online or a workshop and calling ourselves professional titles. We're qualified and we are able to help at this time of unprecedented stress. So let me know if you need any tips to assist you to get through this particular time. And on my personal page on Facebook, you'll find that I'm beginning to collate some tips that I've begun to call the Stay Sane campaign. It just came to me the other day about ways to stay sane. And the reason why I'm doing that, as with so many other things that I've done in my career, in my life, is actually the things that have helped me throughout my life. So having purpose is just one way that we can, that is incredibly important for our psychological well-being. So what are you going to be doing to look after yourself during this time of unprecedented change? Now, one of the things I know as a psychotherapist that causes us a lot of problems is when we are trying to control things that are beyond our control. That is one sure way that we'll create a mental health problem for ourselves. Comment. So maybe if I just put comment here, www. Yeah. Trying to control situations that are beyond our control is just one sure way to create a mental health problem. It means you'll be banging your head against a brick wall. Yeah. And so the fact that we are on lockdown at the moment, well, semi-lockdown, I don't know, people are getting funny about what kind of a lockdown it is, that what we need to think about is actually what is in our control is what we need to focus on, not what isn't in our control, because otherwise you'll do your head in. Yeah. And we don't need to lose it now. We don't need to lose it. And I am of the view that we've been practicing self-care, self-love, looking after our mental health before this time. Now it's the time for serious application, because if we don't learn tips, ways to manage ourselves through this time of unprecedented change, then psychologically we could be worse off. And my dad told me just today that somebody had topped themselves, because I presume it's who knows, but I expect that a wave of mental health challenges, stories will be coming out in the press as time goes on. I am not here to capitalize on this as an opportunity for my business. You know, that is not where I'm at. My ambition is to be of service to people, to help them adjust, because, you know, I'm privileged. I live with a garden. We have space, and it is challenging times. There are people who are overcrowded in flats without a balcony, let alone a garden, and it's going to be tricky. Some of us are living with people that we don't even want to live with, but we know that actually to leave the person there's going to be so much financial hardship. Some of us have had to stay in houses with people that we don't even really like, but some of us have felt that we didn't have a choice, or that it was too difficult to stay. And so those relationships are going to be strained. And whilst I was thinking this today, you know, well, knife crime will be down, but actually, because no one's out, well, anyhow, but what I would anticipate is that as domestic abuse assaults are likely to increase. So, you know, let's preempt that. That's why I'm here. I'm here to be of service. I'm here to encourage people. I'm here to encourage you to think about what you can do to help you retain your mind during this time. So if you've been watching me, if you watch me on Insta, I will do my morning meditation. I want to thank Michelle McFarlane Griffin for her encouragement. She's always just encouraging me to keep doing, to do meditation. And it was like, oh yeah, okay, I've dipped in, I've dipped out. But since Christmas, I've been, you know, trying more consistently to bed down in that. And I do see this situation here as an important practice, and I am getting the benefits. But what about you? What questions do you have about how best to look after your mental health, how best to stay sane in these times where our power, our freedom are extremely limited? I mean, you know, today I said to Dad, have you been to the park yet? Have you been out yet? It's almost like, you know, have you had your one day, your one opportunity to go out yet? Sometimes it's just unbelievable, the things that we are going through, you know, in terms of change. Oh, bless. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you. So I've just had a question there about debt. If you are going to, it's highly likely lots of us are going to be in debt. What I would encourage you to start to do is to start to get proactive. My people, it is not time for us to bury our head in the sand. On my Facebook page, just this week, I asked about, should I pay my credit card bill? And I did that because I know a lot of us might be thinking about whether we do pay our bills. We need to be proactive, you know. So what I would encourage you to do is, if some people are being laid off, some people are just getting they'll get their wages and that will be it. Be proactive. This is not time to bury our head in the sands. It's actually a good time to capitalize on the fact that maybe some of our lenders will be lenient, grant us grace because of the unprecedented times that we're finding ourselves in. You know, it's only today I was on my Facebook and someone mentioned that they just lost their job instantly with no compensation, with no money. So it will be, I presume, maybe they'll get paid Friday. And that's that. That is incredibly stressful. There's no two ways about it. However, you know what? As I said to my mother recently, you know what, Mum, they can't evict everybody. And actually, as I understand now, there is a rule that people cannot be evicted at this time. So your girl Key is here. I'm going to take any questions that you have. Feel free to inbox me if you don't want to go online, about how best to look after yourself. At the moment, I'm putting my tips out there in terms of what we need to be doing to best look after ourselves. The importance of best doing that. One of my tips, my first tip is to try practicing meditation, because it's going to be incredibly important that we learn to still our minds. Because if we don't learn to still our minds, the stress is going to take over us. And a stressed mind impacts on our immune system, it impacts on our thinking, it impacts on our decision-making processes, and we need calmness. Now, that ain't gonna be easy. I am not here to tell you that it's gonna be easy. It's not easy. There's no two ways about it. But one way we can begin to try is to try something like meditation. So actually what meditation is doing for me is helping me to just observe the thoughts, right? Not to continuously be a victim of thoughts. So my first tip is think about trying meditation. You could go on to YouTube. You could give that a go there. Just Google 5-minute meditations and see where that takes you. Step 2, my second tip thus far, is the importance of getting dressed in the morning. Peoples, we do not need to be going from duvet day to duvet day. Yeah? People sharing about watching Netflix, sharing about watching this particular series and box set binge. Listen, it's interesting, you know, as someone who's battled with their weight, binging is regarded as something that's particularly negative and shameful and guilty. You know, you'd binge in privacy and hide the wrappers out the bin. Yet, for some reason, box set binging has got a kind of swagger to it, and it's this thing like it's a great thing. It's not great for us. It's not always great for our bodies. So I'd encourage you to think about a plethora, a smorgasbord, a variety of things that you can do to occupy yourself in this time of unprecedented change. Because sitting there just consuming television is not the greatest use of our mind, because we're being fed information. It may be better for us to be a little bit more proactive. So one of the things I'm doing is kind of revisiting my life visioning mastery course that I did with Mind Valley. That's proactive. It's reading. It's making notes. Yeah. So that's about learning. I've also had a text from a dear colleague who I used to work with in the prison telling me that Open University are offering free courses. My people, this could be an opportunity for us to learn something. Or do you want to just sit there consuming box set after box set after box set? You have to decide how we are going to use this time, because we've been told 3 weeks. Who knows what will be happening after then? So I'm encouraging you to think about how we can use our time productively. Just as, you know, one of my clients said, Key, I'm surprised you're posting as much as you are in this particular season. And I had to say, you know what, sis, one of the reasons I'm posting is because it gives me a sense of purpose. Because if not, you know, this is what I believe I've been called for. What I do as a therapist in terms of assisting people is incredibly helpful for my mental. It gives me a sense of meaning and purpose in my life. So if I stop this, it's highly likely at an emotional level, psychological level, a mental health level, I will deteriorate. Oh, we don't want that. So what do? I get up every day. I put on an outfit like a touching road. I put on a lipstick as well now. And I am creating a routine for myself. Have you created one for yourself? It was only yesterday I had an inbox on the Insta. A dear friend said, they ain't put a bra on for 5 days. Yeah? That is lovely, because we know that can be nice. But we also know that, and this goes back, and I'm going to keep singing this to people, Viktor Frankl's book. He was a Jewish doctor who was locked up in a prisoner of war camp, and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. What they talk about is the importance of having purpose. Yeah. So even if he was peeling potatoes, he swagged it up and he made sure he peeled potatoes and got really into it because it gave him a sense of purpose. So in these times when everything around us has more or less crumbled or it's crumbling, and don't worry, I ain't just talking abstractly, I am in the same boat. What can we do that gives us a sense of purpose and meaning? My people, if you've got to get up and bathe and shave to go to the living room, make it happen. It's good for your mental health. I write a lot, but not because of what's going on. I just like to read and write. Vicky B, thank you for that. Well, the importance of reading and writing, my supervisor and I were talking about that today, is that actually journaling can be very, very good for us. One of the reasons why is because unlike television, where one just consumes information like this, we're consuming, when one writes, when one reads, you are activating different parts of the organism. So maybe, hopefully, you're writing with your hand, or I don't know, maybe you're typing, but that process is good for our brains. You're also having a verbal dialogue with yourself as you come up with the stories. If you read it out to yourself, we also know that is particularly important to you as well. These are important ways to help us create a routine for our day. So Vicky, I want to thank you for that. How are you doing? How are you staying sane in these times of epic uncertainty? Epic uncertainty. Let me know how you're staying sane, or if you need any tips, let your girl Key know. Oh, bless. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. So, like I said, your girl Key is here for you. If you are stressed out, one of the things I'm doing is I've reverted to seeing my clients online. I'm using headphones because obviously the house is busier, although I can, I have a quiet space where I'm able to see people. But for individuals, if you have an employer and you are stressed out, do consider using the EAP services, this employee assistance programs. That can also be helpful if you've got debt worries coming up, if you're fretting about how you're going to pay your rent. So they've got debt programs there, and they also should have a counseling service that you can access, and they should put you in contact with somebody, and you may well be able to see them online too. I'm using Zoom. So any tips, any advice, feel free to inbox your girl Key. I am here for you. I will be meditating tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I'm saying that at 8 o'clock. Keeley, you need the routine. So I'm still struggling here. Key doesn't act like she's perfect. But 8 o'clock, you can catch me on my Instagram page where I'll be doing my morning meditation. What structures and routines are you creating for your life? Duvet day after duvet day and Netflix binging is not good for you. One of the things I'm going to put here in the links below is the link to the Open University that are offering free courses, people. This could be a time for you to start to think about learning, developing a skill, using your time more productively. Yeah? Big up the Netflix crew. I ain't really burning a fire on you. However, there are other things that we can do with our time. We can also use this time in a different way. Additionally, I am also finding that spiritual principles are particularly helpful in terms of that optimism, even in terms of just listening to gospel music to help lift my spirit. Upliftment music is also particularly helpful, as well as humor. Some of the memes out there on Facebook are actually incredibly funny. Some of them are a little bit off, but hey, we all have our personal preference. Vicky B, I've been on lockdown for over a year now. This is not new to me, but I will inbox you, Vicky B. Okay. Yeah, and I think that is very interesting because for some people, some people are, do live their life in a particular way where they're not out for whatever reason. Some of that can be about our physical health, or actually some of us have found the world just a little bit too much, and actually some people have actually choose to retreat from that. So I hope that works for you. Do let me know. And like I said, if you need any tips, any words of encouragement, or if you're at breakpoint, your girl Key is here for you, because my anticipation, and I don't need anybody inboxing me telling me, oh, you can make loads of money right now. It's not about that right now. For me right now, it's about making sure our families are safe, and it's about me being of service to inspire and encourage people as we adjust to a way of living that is nothing like we've ever known it. Hey, Christine Townsend, how are you? Gail, thank you. Hello, love. How are ya? You got any questions about any tips, any practices that you're getting into at the current time to assist you during this time? We'd be glad to know, because, people are having to adjust it to a new life in ways that we've never expected. So like I said before, you know, one of the things that I'm practicing is meditation in the morning. Number 2 is making sure I get dressed as if I got somewhere to go. Gives me a sense of purpose, and it means that I don't get stuck into, like, you know, we don't need to be going into downward cycles. We've got to watch that. We've really got to watch that and how we can pull ourselves up. Third tip, limit your news. I have stopped watching the news years ago. However, clearly it's important that I am informed about the severity of what's going out there. But news alerts, listening to LBC, who updates you every 15 minutes, it can become overwhelming. I've decided I will watch the 5 o'clock bulletin, and that's that. What about you? If you are overwhelmed and bombarded, you may need to start to think about what you allow into your mind. Remember, this is the most important thing we own. Too much listening to it, you know, is going to be too much doom and gloom, and that is not good for us. Remember, at this current time in our history, we are now in survival mode. Survival mode. None of us, many of us, do not know this. We've seen it on tellies with refugees, and we've watched them drown in the sea, but we've acted or felt, not all of us, you know, like, oh, those people over there, well, actually, it's now on our front door, and we're all in survival mode. So, very tricky times. Tips, advice, words of encouragement that you may have, do let your girl Key know. As ever, you know, I'm always very much passionate about intimate relationships. It's one of the struggles I've had in my life, and I think with the insights I have, it's enabled me to help other people. But we also know in times of stress and challenge, we're going to get a measure of the worth of our relationships, the caliber of the individuals that we have allowed in and around us. What are you beginning to notice? What problems are beginning to emerge? How may you need to best look after yourself? And remember, if we're in confined spaces with volatile, unhelpful individuals, we need a strategy. You will need a strategy to best help you, because we're already in a stressful situation. And then if you've got a partner or a tiptoe around situation, we know that there's a volatility to that. And we have to, you know, it's important you safeguard your well-being, because domestic violence, domestic abuse, I would, you know, I don't need the news people to tell me that, that will escalate during this time of unprecedented stress and unprecedented change. I've got no further questions here, so your girl Key is about to sign off. I'm going to go downstairs. I've only got 6,270 steps, so I'm about to do a good hour dancing down there. I'm going to be listening again. Day 3, I'm going to be listening to the singing dentist. He's got a nice mix, e-bubbles, and that's something I enjoy. So that's another tip. Listen to some good mixes and have a good dance. Dancing is great for us. It's good for us because it gets us out of our head, gets us into our body, and just means for the length of that track, you can be distracted. Because trust me, when the track finishes, you could pick up the stress, you could pick up the worry. What we need to do is to give ourselves little breaks. In addition, if you need to cry, you cry. If you need to if you feel overwhelmed, you feel overwhelmed. If you need to scream, you scream. It's all okay. But what is of the most important is that we take steps to protect our sanity. You know, I hear lots of people talking about stay safe. As you can see, the motto that dropped into my head is stay sane. The importance of staying sane in these times of unprecedented change. Your girl Key is here, and I'm happy to assist, albeit not at my offices, but at home. I'm going to encourage you to take care of yourself. I'm going to encourage you to take care of each other. Look out for me on my Instagram at 8 o'clock every morning, where every morning, Key, every morning, man, we're going to do this every morning, where I'm going to be doing my meditation. Why not join me and try something different? Difference is good for us. Sameness is stuckness. Take care of you, because if you don't,